Hi, welcome to In the Arena. I'm your host, Mindy McAlindon. Today, we are hosting Debbie-Georgatos. She is a conservative commentator and attorney, National Committeewoman from Arkansas, and she also has her own podcast, America, Can We Talk? She focuses on defending freedom, liberty, and our Constitution. Debbie is known for her clear, principled approach to America's most pressing political and cultural issues. I think you're really going to enjoy hearing from her today, so let's welcome her into the arena. Debbie, welcome.
Well, thank you so very much. I appreciate being invited. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. So real briefly, just kind of tell me what inspired you to step into the world of politics?
You know, I will tell you, we live in Texas, and when we first moved there 25 years ago, the first friend I made was someone very new. She said, and we were talking politics a little bit. She said, let's get involved in this local Republican Women's Club, which we did. And it really blossomed from there. We're active in the club. And then I'm a lawyer, and I've done a little bit helping candidates with their organizing our thoughts and making bullet point thoughts. And I became active working with candidates a little bit. And then I wrote a book called Ladies, Can We Talk in 2012,
Nice.
entirely talking to women about why you should vote Republican. You should vote for limited government. And that kind of cascaded into ending up with a talk show, which is called America, Can We Talk? I've been doing that for 11 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I just talk about, I always boil it down to it. I talk about saving America. That's right. I mean, it's saving the idea of what America is supposed to be. And then I got very involved in politics and ended up in Texas having running for RNC Committeewoman, which I had looked at a few years ago, and I decided last year to actually do it. So our election, I've been in almost a year. It'll be May, it'll be 1 year.
And how have you, so we served together on the RNC. How have you enjoyed being involved with the RNC? It's very different than local politics.
Very different. And I'll tell you, the thing that is really, I didn't realize as much until I got on the RNC, because most of my activism is about policies and substance and talking about, the importance of the First Amendment and things, I'm the legal background, the Constitution. The RNC, people involved in the RNC, they do have a job. It's outside of policy. It's about make sure we have our platform together, make sure we have our convention planned, helping candidates win. It's a pragmatic piece of the party, which I really hadn't been involved in. I do a lot of public speaking. It's always, as I say, boiling down to save America, stand up for the values that founded America. So it's different in that way.
It is, and it's different than what people think it is, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I agree with you. Whenever I speak, I always have to tell people, really, our primary job is to elect a nominee for president, and then everything that goes along with that. But that is really what we do. We set our platform and we elect a nominee, and that is the sole purpose, and everything else is wonderful gravy. So that is excellent.
I like that, wonderful gravy. It is. That is our most important job. But I love that the RNC is looking at, in our meeting this last few days, talking about people running for Congress, people running for Senate, where seats are closed, what could help, what are the issues. I think those are, to elect Republicans is the primary job.
Yes.
And I always try to add, because our platform, our ideas are the right ideas for America.
Yeah, they are winning. I always tell people they are winning ideas. If we sell them the right way, they are winning ideas. And I think the most obvious evidence of that is between Trump and Biden, right? We saw the Trump presidency and the Biden presidency in two different ways of approaching the economics of our country, let alone everything else. And I think we see what proved out, did we not?
Absolutely true. I will mention back when Donald Trump first ran in 2015 and 2016, he made the average Joe who really maybe didn't care about politics very much. He made them think about, number one, what America is. He just effused without seeing a lot of these things openly. America's a good place. American people are good people.
Yeah.
He just made people appreciate America and remind them of our greatness. And that helped him win the first time because it caused people to see more clearly that the Democrat Party had really been running America. They're kind of intentionally managing America's decline.
Yeah.
They were running America down, and Donald Trump came on and said, no, this is our best days ahead kind of message. It's why he won in 2016.
Yeah.
Okay, I believe he won in 2020. You don't have to agree. He certainly ran again in 2024.
Yes, he definitely won in 2024, for sure. Well, that is really interesting, and I agree with you. I think he inspired people to just look like not just what am I doing today, but how can I make America better than it is. And I think that's wonderful. But let's talk about election integrity since you brought up 2020. We've talked a lot. I know you've really rang the bell about election integrity through your talk show and through your commentating, through the works that you've done. Tell me about election integrity and why this is such a passion for you.
You know, it's a passion because, you know, the very premise of America, this idea that, you know, before America came along, we just were a subject of a king. And you were born someplace and you're ruled by the king, no choice. America's concept was individuals are actually capable of self-governance. But to have self-governance, to be the people that choose your own government, you have to be able to have reliably fair elections. And it's a given. You don't really have the whole country's premise if you lose fair elections. I did become very focused in on this after the 2020 elections because I began to realize the many ways in which elections can be skewed or stolen. There are the obvious ones. There's jokes for years about, you know, the cemetery vote turned out this year or didn't turn out this year. So there are very pragmatic ways that the elections are sometimes stolen. It involves, you know, not keeping people's names on voter rolls who are no longer with us and someone casting that ballot. There's a use of mail-in ballots, which are just an enormous source of fraud. In fact, that was Jimmy Carter's commission said that the singular source of election fraud is mail-in ballots, use of massive mail-in ballots.
Not all mail-in ballots. You're talking about, I mean, mail-in ballots are not necessarily in and of themselves a bad thing, right?
Well, when you talk about ballots that you ask, absentee ballots, you send in and say, hey, I'll be gone or I can't be there, so send me a ballot.
Yeah.
That's one thing. That is a requested ballot.
Yes.
When you had massive in 2020 sending out of mail-in ballots to people who didn't request them, they had all sorts of advertisements online, people saying, look, I got 5 ballots at my house. That mail-in ballots are a source of that. They're not
so it gives that opportunity to cheat or
Absolutely.
To do bad things.
Yeah. But there's a third vehicle of election integrity, which has to do with electronic voting and the electronic manipulation of voter tabulation software, which I've had many experts on my talk show talking about how, you know, if you have any aspect of the voting susceptible to being hacked, just like many of your viewers must know, you know, we've had major agencies of the federal government have been hacked. The NSA has been hacked, the DOD. So if you have something computerized as hackable, it's therefore, you know, it's vulnerable, it's not secure. In America's elections, we have, in my view, overwhelming evidence of electronic manipulation of voter tabulation software. Anywhere, any way the data is carried, even on a thumb drive, can be electronically, remotely manipulated. So I think moving away from voting machines, that's one of my points I advocate, moving away from voting machines, getting to hopefully day of voting or, you know, maybe a few days ahead of time, and trying to go with paper ballots and hand counting. I think those are vital to all around getting to the most secure elections you can have.
So I like the one-day voting or even a couple days of voting just because I think someone earlier today was saying we have election season. We don't even have, you know, election day anymore. It's election season. And so I think at some point, and I can't remember which state, maybe Virginia, has like 50 days of early voting.
Oh my gosh.
They mentioned that this morning. I couldn't believe it. And so I'm like, but at that point, you're voting in September. Think about all the things that happen between September and November, and you might like, shoot, maybe I wanted to change my vote for that person or what. So I do think at some point we've gotten a little extravagant with the number of days we have for voting. So I am with you on that. But let's talk a little bit more about paper ballots because I love the idea of paper ballots. I love the idea, like in Arkansas, we have electronic marking. So but then it prints out a paper ballot, which we then electronically count. So we kind of go back and forth, and we've done tests on that, gone back to see how accurate it is, and we've had really good accuracy with the electronic tabulation with the paper ballot that matches it. As a matter of fact, 100% accuracy with that. And but we do have a move in Arkansas to look at paper ballots as well, and we have at least one county that has moved to that.
Yeah.
But it seems like as we get to some of these really big cities with lots of races, I mean, wouldn't it be days, if not weeks, before we had a result with hand counting?
It's a very fair question. I will tell you, when I do public speaking in Texas on this issue, it's Houston where the people, even the really, and I'm from the Dallas area. But in Houston, people say we have too many precincts, too many precinct locations, too many voters. We could not do it.
Yeah.
I understand in some of the larger cities, it's maybe a different problem to address.
Yeah.
I think the mindset that would change elections to day of or a couple days ahead of time, along with that, make election day maybe a national holiday so people don't have to work.
Yeah.
And that gets you into getting more people involved in the process.
Yeah.
If you have hundreds of people saying, sure, one day I'll come in and I'll count votes. And it's all being recorded. Your counting of the ballots being recorded by camera. I understand that may sound at this time like, well, it's kind of old school. It's going backwards. We have all these wonderful machines.
Right.
But there are many countries in the world that have reverted to paper ballots and hand counting. America is actually, we would be, in my view, moving forward, not backward. But it would take, you're exactly right. It would take a lot of adjustment.
Yeah. So let's talk about 2024, because I feel like from a Republican Party standpoint, we did an excellent job of trying to stay on top of any potential issues. Did you feel good about the way 2024 was run from the Republican Party side?
Yeah, I do love the RNC, to give them great credit for that. They focus early on. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Excuse me, please. They focus early on getting into the especially trouble areas. They had many poll watchers. They try to get election clerks signed up, poll watchers. They also did a good job of litigation, and it's unfortunate that that's required, but you have to have lawyers ready. So when some local official says, I think I'll change this rule or I'll adjust this, that you've got lawyers ready to say, you're not allowed to do that, and we will go to court today. Right now, we can get in front of a judge. They litigated, and their litigation record was astonishingly great.
It was.
And just the threat of litigation.
Yes.
A lot of people say, okay, never mind. I'm not going to do that then. I'm not going to cheat this time.
Well, and I think, didn't someone say that, if you think that someone is there watching you, it decreases even the potential of that happening.
Has to be
significantly.
True. Even it's why stores put in cameras for shoplifters.
Exactly.
People realize,
and they tell you that we have cameras. Right? And it does deter a lot of people. So I agree with you. I think the 2024 election went really, really well, really smoothly. And I think the most important thing for me in being an elected official is that I think it gave people more confidence that their vote mattered. Whether or not you believe that their election was stolen in 20, we saw a decrease in voters in 22. And, it was about a 1% to 3%, depending on where you were, of voters not coming out. And we kind of hypothesized that is because people thought, well, my vote, what's it worth? Because there was just so much talk about this election being stolen. And so I think that the RNC went a long ways to reinstill that faith, and I feel like we got that faith back in the elections. Do you feel that way?
I do. I do think people, if you really believe that elections, that your vote doesn't make any difference at all because it's all manipulated behind the scene, then you aren't going to vote. But I would urge for your listeners, there's evidence about the scope of electronic election fraud that's, it's one of those things, it'd be so easy if they just, like a bank robbery where you could see, there's a bad guy, he's got a gun, he's taking the money. It's very evident. It all happens behind the scene, but there are many sources where you can understand how that conclusion is reached. And I would say one other really important thing about election fraud, but to finish that point, I think that there's work by Dr. Douglas Frank, if you ever find him in Telegram or I don't know, I think mostly Telegram, but he's a guru scientist with 2 PhDs. I can't even pronounce the topics his PhDs are in. Really smart guy.
Wow.
But tons of evidence. When you finally absorb it, you realize, wow, that he's really shown there's a big problem, electronic fraud. The other big thing that the continued cleanup toward best elections we can have is to clean voter rolls more often. In fact, my other idea on that is, I think people should have to re-register every 4 years. Every 4 years, every 10 years. Because right now the voter rolls run in perpetuity. They just, people add in, and if someone remembers to take their name out when they move away, or somehow someone passes away and they cache that and remove their name. But the process of saying you have to re-register would eliminate, and the bank of voters in most states on the voter rolls who aren't alive and don't vote account for the capacity to steal, both from mail-in ballots and from electronic fraud.
I see what you're saying. So in Arkansas, we actually roll our voters off if they don't vote. And I think I'm going to get this wrong. I'm not going to say the number because I'll get it wrong. But in a certain number of elections, we roll off. You don't roll off. You become inactive. And then in order to become active, you have to re-register. So we have kind of the reverse process. And we've done a lot legislatively to try and make sure that we are cleaning up our voter rolls. Our Secretary of State has really made that his focus over the next 2 years to make sure that we've got a good system in place. And so I know other states are probably working on it too, but I agree, we need to have those rolls cleaned up because we just want to be sure we don't give opportunity for people to cheat.
Exactly. I will take the argument any day. If Republicans lose because Democrats made a better argument or we didn't get our message out, then that's on us. But if you do a great job and you sell people on all the virtues of the Republican Party, but then elections are stolen, you've kind of wasted all that effort.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And I don't know how many elections are stolen. I just haven't researched that, but I do know that, we just don't even want to give people the opportunity. As I tell my kids, don't have any just semblance of there being a problem, right?
Yep.
Let's just make sure that people have faith in our elections. And I think we're on the same page on that for sure. So let me ask you this. What do you see as kind of the outside of election integrity? What do you see as conservatives' biggest issues as we move into 26?
Well, I think, unfortunately, I love our president. I love President Trump. I grew up in New York. Even his demeanor makes me feel happy. I love it. Having said that, I think that the whole MAGA theme, and which is great with me, and America First, there has been the ability of people on the left to kind of villainize that. So I think we got a big job to say America First, as another way of saying MAGA. It should have always been our party slogan. It needs to be our party slogan for the rest of time.
Yeah.
To put America first, again, back to when Donald Trump ran in 2016, he just made people realize, hey, America's a good country. We're not the evil country that Barack Obama told us we were for 8 years. That's not who we are. So I think to emphasize to people what Donald Trump's policies are doing now, how they've securing the border and removing dangerous criminal people who basically broke into our country. The policies are making America better, and it's the policies that will continue to if we continue to vote Republican. And just to get them focused on, look where we were headed under the previous administration. I think that in the America First, kind of celebrating that idea, every other country puts their country first, and the idea we somehow felt guilty that, or like it was a bad thing to say, and it wasn't at all.
Yeah. No, I do agree with you on that. I think that America is an amazing country, right? It's an amazing experiment that has been successful beyond anybody's wildest dreams.
Yeah.
And I think if you look at the wealth and the innovation that has come out of our country because of the freedom that we have, because of the ability to own your own innovations and to profit from your own business, which is a kind of a unique idea in the world at the time. And I think that has really lent itself to improving the whole world, not just America. So it is an amazing country. I agree with you.
It is. And you know what else is kind of amazing? I think it's really providential that Donald Trump happens to be president now in these 4 years, when next year, in July 4th of 2026, it's America's 250th birthday. And you were alluding to this a moment ago, but the historians will tell you that most republics last about 250 years, and they crumble from within because people stop defending it or understanding it. So the idea Donald Trump we all have as Americans to kind of remind ourselves, remind our fellow citizens, this is a great country rooted in freedom, promises of the Declaration, promises of the Bill of Rights, and that is what made us extraordinary, great, unique. Inventions come here. People around the world still want to come here if they are fleeing violence or fleeing persecution. America's always the first choice.
Yeah, I agree with you. Okay, so I'm going to just wrap us up a little bit. So tell me, how can everyday Americans get involved? Like if people in your community in Fort Worth, Dallas, want to get involved and make a difference in their community, what's the best advice that you give them?
Okay, well, number one, tune into my show. No.
Yeah, it is a great show.
Yeah, my show is America Can We Talk, americacanwetalk.org. But if you really, I think to get involved, if you just sit back and watch everything, it seems too many issues you care about, too many candidates, you have to focus your efforts somehow. So either focus on a candidate you really like and just say, I hope so-and-so wins, state rep, state senate, whatever it is. Call that campaign. They always can use help. Either lock onto a candidate, lock onto the county party, calling your county party and saying, where do you need help? Some county parties are really ready to take you in, others are not. County party is good. Or get involved on one issue is the other thing. If your big issue is content of books in the public library, in the school libraries, or border security or election integrity, there are volunteer groups all over the place, and you feel more inspired because okay, this is my goal. I understand it. Here's what I'm going to do to follow it. It gives you focus. And I think when you have focus, and it's easy to make a list and easy to say, here's what I'm going to try to do.
Yeah.
I think finding focus is a big thing.
I like that. That's excellent. Okay, so to wrap up, tell me one thing that you hope to see or accomplish in the next year. I mean, either for yourself or for Texas, for our country. What is that one thing that you hope you see or accomplish in the next year?
Okay, how long do I have? No.
As long as you want.
No, I don't know. I really want to, there was so much misinformation out about what was happening in the last 4 years under the Biden-Harris administration versus the Trump administration. I want truth to come out more about what occurred in the 4 years and how the southern border was abandoned and how that hurt America and how, it's really appreciation of America because another I think monumental harm done to America was the effort under the Biden-Harris team to transfer America's sovereignty to the World Health Organization or other international groups. It's that restoration of pride in America that says we don't give our sovereignty to the World Health Organization or any other group. We're proud of America, and we see more clearly the difference between America the free, and from the Declaration, the Constitution, versus where the left was taking was in my opinion, the Democrat Party today has just been overtaken by Marxism. And I think we should call them that. If they are Marxist, socialist, they are not on the American playing field. Make that distinction clearer. It'd be a great thing.
Excellent. Okay. 3 things that somebody doesn't know about you.
Okay. Well, let's see. One is I climbed Kilimanjaro.
Nice.
Yeah, that's in Tanzania. I spent a semester abroad in Kenya. I got to give me a second thing.
Okay.
Spent a semester in Kenya. We all went down and climbed Kilimanjaro, which is in Tanzania.
That's amazing.
Yes, and the third thing is I don't like hardly any sweets. I only really like peanut butter and chocolate. Pretty much other than that, I don't like sweets. That's a weird thing, but...
It is. Well, that's why you're so trim and beautiful.
Well, same to you. You're also trim and beautiful.
Well, thank you. Debbie, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate your time. I feel like we probably could have talked for hours because we barely scratched the surface, but we'll do it again.
Thank you for having me so very much. I love the name of your show, In the Arena. Great name, so thank you for having me.
Thank you. Well, I hope you have enjoyed getting to know Debbie just a little bit better. Again, she has her own talk show, her own podcast, which is America Can We Talk. She is the National Committeewoman from Texas, and she does an amazing job of just drilling down and fighting for issues that are important to conservatives. She's really looked into election integrity. She fights for freedom. She fights to be sure that people are educated in supporting the Constitution. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you'll join me again next week in the arena.